In the days of the Persian Empire, the great city of Susa awakened beneath a king's rule. Susa was a city of wealth, power, and hidden destinies. At the center stood the palace of King Xerxes.
The king ruled over a vast empire, stretching beyond the horizon. A season of celebration filled the palace with pride and excess. But the queen would soon make a choice that changed everything.
Queen Vashti, King Xerxes commands your presence at the royal banquet.
Vashti refused to appear before the king.
Her refusal shook the royal court. The king's advisors feared the consequences of her defiance.
Vashti was removed from her royal position. Far from the palace lived a young Jewish woman named Esther.
Esther had been raised by Mordecai after losing her parents.
Mordecai taught her wisdom, humility, and faith.
Though she carried the pain of being an orphan, she did not lose hope.
Soon, a decree spread through every street of Susa. The king would choose a new queen from among the young women of the empire. Esther listened in silence, unsure of what lay ahead. Royal officials began gathering women for the palace.
Mordecai encouraged Esther to trust God's guidance.
With a heavy heart, Esther left the only home she had known.
We must go now. We cannot delay.
She was taken to the royal palace with many others.
The palace was more magnificent than anything Esther had imagined. The young women were placed under royal care.
The chief attendant quickly noticed Esther's grace.
She was given special attention among the women.
For many months, Esther was prepared for the king.
She learned the ways of the royal court.
Yet she remained humble and quietly faithful. Every day, Mordecai came near the palace to learn how Esther was doing. Their bond remained strong, even while they were separated. The day came for Esther to appear before the king. She entered the royal chamber with quiet courage. The king was immediately drawn to Esther. Her beauty was matched by dignity and wisdom.
Xerxes chose Esther above all the other women.
Esther became Queen of Persia. A great celebration was held across the empire. But Esther did not forget where she came from.
Mordecai rejoiced that Esther had found favor.
Even as queen, Esther remembered her people.
Mordecai continued his duties near the king's gate.
One night, Mordecai overheard a dangerous plot. The guards planned to assassinate Xerxes.
Mordecai quickly sent word to Esther.
Esther reported the plot to the king.
The conspirators were captured before they could strike. Mordecai's loyalty was written in the royal records.
Yet Mordecai received no immediate honor.
A greater conflict was already beginning to rise. A powerful official named Haman was elevated above the nobles. And when Haman saw Mordecai refuse to bow, hatred took root in his heart. Haman could not endure Mordecai's refusal to bow. Pride turned quickly into burning hatred. He learned that Mordecai was a Jew. Haman began planning revenge. He brought a proposal before the king.
Haman offered great wealth to support his plan.
The king gave Haman authority to act. A decree was written against the Jewish people. The order carried the king's seal. Messengers carried the decree across the empire.
The news spread from city to city.
For the Jews, the decree brought terror.
Mordecai mourned openly before God.
He stood outside the king's gate in deep grief.
When Esther heard of Mordecai's mourning, she was troubled.
Mordecai refused the comfort Esther sent.
She asked for the reason behind his sorrow.
Take this decree and run to the palace. Hurry, your life depends on it. Mordecai revealed Haman's deadly decree.
Esther understood the danger facing her people.
But approaching the king without invitation could mean death.
She sent word about the risk she faced.
Mordecai urged Esther not to remain silent.
Perhaps she had come to royalty for this very moment. The weight of her calling settled on her heart.
Take these scrolls and distribute them as instructed. We must act quickly and without fear.
Esther chose a path of courage. She asked the Jews to fast for 3 days.
Throughout the city, prayers rose for Esther. The queen humbled herself before God.
She sought strength beyond her own.
When the fast ended, Esther was changed.
She prepared to enter the king's presence. The queen put on her royal robes. Fear remained, but courage became stronger.
She walked toward the throne room, uninvited. Every eye turned toward the queen.
One command could have ended her life. The king saw Esther standing before him.
Then he extended the golden scepter.
Esther was spared.
The court breathed again. The king welcomed his queen.
Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet.
Haman felt honored above all the nobles. A private banquet was prepared.
The queen hid her true purpose for the moment.
Queen Esther, your request is granted. Speak your heart, even to half my kingdom.
My lord, I am overwhelmed by your generosity. If it pleases the king, if it please your majesty and Lord Haman, would you return tomorrow for a second banquet?
Esther invited them to return the following day. Haman left the palace overflowing with pride.
But the sight of Mordecai ruined his joy.
His hatred burned even deeper.
He boasted about his wealth and influence. Yet one man's refusal still tormented him.
They suggested a shocking solution.
We must build the gallows 50 cubits high. It is the only way.
A gallows was built for Mordecai. Haman intended to ask for Mordecai's execution at dawn.
That night, sleep escaped the king.
Xerxes could not rest.
He ordered the royal records to be read. One account caught the king's attention. Mordecai had saved the king's life.
The king asked what honor had been given to him.
No reward had ever been given. At dawn, Haman came to the palace.
He came to ask for Mordecai's death.
Before he could speak, the king summoned him. Haman entered the throne room with confidence. The king asked how a favored man should be honored.
Haman believed the honor was for himself. He described a royal celebration.
He asked for robes, a royal horse, and public honor.
Then the king gave an unexpected command. Do for Mordecai the Jew all that you have described.
The honor was for Mordecai.
Haman was forced to honor the man he hated. Mordecai accepted the honor with humility. Haman led Mordecai through the city. The people watched in amazement.
For Haman, every step was humiliation.
Mordecai remained calm and dignified. The streets of Susa would not forget that morning. After the procession, Mordecai returned to his place. Haman hurried home in disgrace.
His household sensed that something had changed.
They warned that Haman's downfall had begun. Before he could recover, he was summoned again. The second banquet began that evening.
Esther prepared to reveal the truth.
The king asked Esther what she desired.
Esther chose the moment carefully. She pleaded for her life and her people.
The king was stunned by her words.
This wicked man, Haman, is our enemy and our adversary.
My queen, that is not true. She revealed the enemy behind the decree.
Haman's secret plan was exposed.
The king rose in fury.
Haman begged desperately for mercy.
The king returned and saw Haman beside the queen.
The gods seized Haman at once.
Judgment came swiftly. Then the king heard about the gallows.
The instrument of death stood waiting. Haman fell into the trap he had prepared for another. The proud official was no more. The king gave Haman's authority to Mordecai. Mordecai was elevated in the kingdom.
But the deadly decree still remained.
Esther asked for a way to save the Jews.
A new decree was prepared.
The Jews were granted the right to defend themselves.
Messengers carried the new decree across the empire.
The queen had risked everything for her people.
And the story of deliverance was only beginning. The new decree spread across the empire with urgent speed. Riders carried hope where fear had ruled.
The Jews learned they could defend their lives.
Families who expected destruction began to breathe again. Mordecai was clothed with royal honor.
The man once ignored at the gate now carried the king's authority. Esther saw God's hand in the sudden reversal.
The city slowly turned from mourning to preparation. Communities prepared to defend themselves.
Wisdom and unity became their strength. The appointed day drew near.
Many spent the night seeking God's protection.
The queen carried the burden of her people. Mordecai waited for the day of decision. Enemies of the Jews prepared to strike.
The Jews stood together instead of hiding. The battle for survival began.
Courage replaced fear.
Across the city, the struggle spread.
News reached the palace from every quarter. Mordecai remained near the king as the conflict unfolded.
The tide began to turn.
Hope rose with every victory.
Those who sought destruction were pushed back.
The first day ended with unexpected deliverance.
The king heard that the Jews had prevailed.
Xerxes invited Esther to speak once more.
If it pleases the king,
Grant the Jews in Susa one more day of protection.
Esther asked for one more day of security.
The king granted her request.
A second day of conflict began. This time, the defenders were ready. The final resistance was broken. At last, the danger passed. Families were reunited across the city. Mordecai became a source of peace and stability.
Esther used her position to bring comfort.
The people determined that this salvation must never be forgotten.
Letters were sent throughout the empire. This time, the messengers carried joy. The news of deliverance spread far beyond Susa. The people prepared a festival of thanksgiving.
Sorrow gave way to celebration.
The Jews celebrated with feasting and joy.
They shared their blessings with one another.
Mordecai established a memorial for future generations.
The days would be remembered as Purim. Esther and Mordecai stood together in gratitude. The city that once feared destruction now overflowed with rejoicing.
Even the king witnessed the peace that had followed.
Light filled the city, where darkness had threatened to prevail.
When the crowds grew quiet, Esther reflected on the journey. She remembered the orphan who had once entered the palace in fear.
The path had been filled with uncertainty.
The forgotten servant had been honored.
Through courage, wisdom, and faith, Esther's story became a testimony of deliverance for generations to come.
Months passed, and peace spread across the empire. Life returned to the streets of Susa. Mordecai served the kingdom with humility.
Esther used her position to care for those in need. He worked for the welfare of many people.
You was paktrism you've torchen.
The queen never forgot the danger they had escaped.
The remembrance of deliverance was carefully recorded.
The message traveled to every Jewish community.
Communities received the news with gratitude.
Preparations for the first Purim began.
Generosity became part of the celebration. The people celebrated together with thankful hearts. Music and joy replaced the memory of fear. Esther saw a people restored.
Mordecai rejoiced with those who had survived.
The city shone with celebration late into the night.
When the celebration ended, Esther reflected in silence.
She remembered the family she had lost.
The orphan girl was never forgotten.
God had carried her through every season.
Mordecai remembered the days of mourning. Sorrow had been turned into honor. The king also saw the change that had come to his kingdom.
Peace now filled the palace that once held fear.
A new season had begun.
The next generation began learning the story of deliverance.
They were taught to remember God's faithfulness.
The story was passed from one generation to the next. The roads of the empire grew safer again. Mordecai became a trusted leader among the nations.
His wisdom brought stability to many.
The queen remained close to the people's struggles.
Gratitude became part of their daily lives. The land entered a season of abundance. Joy returned to ordinary life.
Esther helped strengthen the remembrance of Purim.
Her words carried authority and hope.
The message of hope continued to spread.
Even distant communities joined the celebration.
Years later, the memory of deliverance still burned brightly.
Esther had once feared entering the throne room.
Courage had changed the course of history.
Her risk had become a nation's rescue.
Together, they witnessed the fruit of faith and courage. A new day always follows the darkest night. The story of Esther became a testimony of God's hidden hand.
Thank you for this bountiful harvest. And her courage would be remembered for generations to come.
When fear demanded silence, courage answered the call. And the light of deliverance was never forgotten.